all the way back, baby.
Yeah, and if we say book your hotel, you book your hotel. But my lord, I have soiled myself.
And now, another episode of The Way We HNC It. Good evening and welcome back to another episode of The Way We HNC It. Today we have an action-packed show and it is my absolute pleasure for this to be the second in our interview series with some of our GB superstars who have had one hell of a summer. This evening I am joined by longtime friends of the show and rapidly becoming regulars, our GB women's team two-time European champions. It is, of course, Grace Conway and Ellie Thorpe. Welcome back, guys.
Thanks for having us.
I guess, first off, congratulations. Title defense in France in, what will probably go down as a classic of the genre. Yeah. I guess, Grace, how are we feeling now? Kind of a couple of weeks on from getting home.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't think it's set in properly. It actually, when I try and think about it, it feels like it was weeks and weeks ago, like months ago, because I think so much has happened in that time as well. But yeah, real amazing experience. The whole thing was just the best.
Yeah, I mean, it looked pretty great, and yeah, Ellie, I guess like it's been like kind of as Grace has alluded to there, it's been pretty much non-stop for you guys, even since you got back. It looks like it's been kind of the aftermath has been great, and kind of what's really stood out to you since kind of getting off the train home.
Yeah, I think I said to Grace this week, like I still don't feel like I'm back in routine properly yet. I still feel a bit like in limbo, but I think one of the main things that's said to us like this is a really big deal is, first of all, like the media, the traction, like the BBC articles, the Olympics posts, like the Team GB posts. That all seems crazy, but it kind of shows you like how big this thing is now. It's the stuff that we only kind of could have dreamed of even 2 years ago. So seeing all of that is like, wow, this is a really big deal. And then also some of the amazing events we've been to, the NFL game we went to, you know, meeting other Team GB athletes was, out of this world. You know, like we never expected to be meeting Lucy Bronze, meeting Emma Hayes, having these amazing conversations. And suddenly we're there just like, we're Team GB athletes too. Like it was really surreal.
Yeah, I mean, like it's been ace to like kind of watch that happen. You know, like I actually like properly giggled out loud and had to explain myself to when it was the Team GB post, because I was just scrolling through it, like, you know, you're just scrolling like, oh, that's a BAFA post, and then I was like, hang on, no, wait, come back, and it's like it's Olympic Team GB, and I was just like, yeah, had a proper little kind of giddy, excited laugh at that, and like, yeah, the photos, I mean, yeah, hanging out with kind of some of the football lionesses and the Red Roses and stuff, who have obviously all had amazing years. Yeah, what is that like, you know, just meeting, you know, because we've spoken before about how, like, you know, that's the trajectory you'd like to be on, and now you're kind of like being able to talk to some of the most successful sportswomen that the sport has to offer. So I guess, like, Grace, what was that like, and like, what did you kind of take from any of that?
The whole experience was just crazy. We didn't know anything about it, so as far as we were aware, we were sitting in the stands, and we were going to do something at half time, like a walkout situation. And when we arrived, we quickly found out that wasn't going to be the case, but still didn't know what was coming for us. And then it was just like the next person, the next person, the next person, and it was, yeah, a crazy experience. We had some amazing conversations with all of them. It still doesn't feel like we're quite on that level yet. And when you say we're Team GB as well, it's a bit like quite far off where they are. But yeah, just it was, and it's such a good experience. Rory has a picture of, which I find hilarious, of us all talking to Lucy Bronze. You can't actually see Lucy Bronze in the picture, but I know that's who we're talking to at the time. And I just look like starstruck staring at her as she's talking. It's hilarious.
I mean, like, I'm not surprised. Like, you know, you get to hang out with, with Lucy Bronze. And I guess that's wild to me that nobody gave you a heads up as well, because I don't know how, I don't know how you prepare, but to like not even be given the chance, you know?
It was
As
crazy.
we came around the corner from the tunnel, I was walking next to Ellie, and I was like, Ellie, is that Lucy Bronze?
And then I guess you ended up, was it all the same day? Like there's pictures of some of the gang kind of up in the posh seats with the commish. Was that was that same day?
Yeah. So Chris from
God.
NFL UK really looked after us and kind of said, look, this is the kind of treatment that we give to the Lionesses when they come, to other Team GB athletes, and you deserve the same. And obviously we were like, do we? And he showed us this amazing suite. And next thing he was like, the commissioner wants to meet you guys. Do you want to go and have a conversation? And we went to the big dog suite, which was kind of like where everybody hangs out. And I think the first person we spoke to was Emma Hayes. We got to meet, and that was just amazing because I think, as you know, another woman in sport, a coach manager who has led so many teams, you want to soak up all of that wisdom, all of that experience. And so we were just there like, please share, please talk to us. Like, yeah, it was so cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Ellie asked some great questions as well. I think the rest of us were a bit stuck on what we should say, but
it's so hard,
Ellie
isn't
picked
it?
it up for us.
And then
I mean,
the commissioner came over
like
and wanted, was engaged in the conversation too. And you could tell that, I think sometimes when you meet people like that who you've only really seen on TV before and are kind of head of these huge organizations, you think, they say these things, but maybe they don't really believe them. But when he talked about elevating women's sports and elevating flag football, you could tell that he was really behind it, was really keen to amplify the women's programs. It was, again, really surreal to have those conversations.
So good. Like, I'm so delighted that you guys are like, that this is the way things are going. Like, it's so good. Yeah, like you say, you hang out with these people that you see on the telly, and yeah, I mean, 10 minutes with Emma Hayes just to ask her a question is like, that's an absolute goldmine. Yeah, without a doubt, one of the best coaches out there of any sport. So I guess that's like the combination of kind of a whirlwind summer for you guys. So last time we spoke, obviously you were, I think it was a week out from departing for China. Making sure you had everything ready to go. China, it's a wild experience. Obviously, we spoke to Fraser a little while ago. So I'll ask you guys the same question I asked him, I guess. So Ellie, obviously in the build-up, the World Games are this massive sporting event. They're multi-sport, kind of the biggest thing going outside of the the Olympic rings. At what point did it properly hit you that you were like, wait, we're going to China to play at the World Games?
I actually don't think it really hit me until we were there. Like, even traveling and things, it was, I don't know. I think when we first landed and you start seeing like signs and the logos for the World Games everywhere, like all over the city, the airport, you're like, wow, this thing is really big. It's not just that we're the other side of the world to play, it's that this sporting event has taken over this entire city, like, and we're a part of that. I think for me, that's when I was like, this. Before that, it was like, oh, we're traveling for flag. But when we got there, I was like, wow, it's actually not even just flag. It's like the biggest sporting event that's happening. It was, yeah, crazy.
So I guess, Grace, what about yourself?
Yeah, probably the same, really. It was so long traveling that I had just kind of forgotten that we were going there to play football. I just wanted to get anywhere at that point and out of an airport. But for me, probably like the opening ceremony when that happened, because it was on a huge scale. Obviously, even without us doing the whole walkout thing, which was super cool. But like the fireworks, the show, that everything they put on, like the Olympic flag comes out and gets presented. I was just like, this is crazy.
Yeah. So there's a question for you. How did that come about, right? Because then obviously, you look at the Olympics and it's a very serious, to hold the flag on the way out at either opening or closing is like, I think the athletes pick someone or whatever. So was it just like you guys were at the front of the queue, or was there like a discussion beforehand? Were you consulted, or was it just like you front go?
Yeah, I think it just happened.
All I remember is us arriving to the opening ceremony, and then they arranged everyone in their countries. So obviously there was loads of different sports, like I think tug of war were there, orienteering. There was lots of different GBT athletes there, and they called our name, and we'd been sat down for so long that we were like hyperactive kids that just ran to where we needed to go. And I think we just somehow ended up at the front of that.
Just got there first. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Because like the reaction because obviously it was during the daytime here, thankfully. It was late enough in Chengdu that in here it was a kind of normal, we say, time. The pop that went off on about every flag football related group chat that was like, hold it at the front, because everyone was like, I was chatting to Andy, we're like, oh, we'll try and see if we can get a screenshot of something, and then like, yeah, you guys walk out with like at the front with the flag. That was a very cool moment. I think, at least speaking for myself, and I think a lot of people at home, that was probably the moment for at home where we were just like, this event is massive and flag is front and center. I know obviously you guys went out like a week early and did that and then had a camp and stuff. Yeah, it was very cool for everyone at home as well. But obviously I cannot imagine being there, doing the walk, fireworks, the display, the stadium itself looked amazing. Like the venue looked incredible.
Yeah, I definitely got goosebumps when we did that walkout. And you kind of look to one side and you've got like the stands and loads of people sitting there. But then I don't know if you could see this on the screen or not, but the other side, there's tons more people and they're kind of like in darkness. So you can't really notice them at first. And then you hear them all clapping and suddenly you're like, wow, there are so many people here just watching the opening ceremony. But it was wild.
Yeah, it was crazy. And what's funnier from that picture that everyone now has is the gap between us and carrying the flag, because we all got so distracted that we looked up and we were like, oh my god, pick the pace up, because we were far away. And then when you watch like the whole thing, the only person that you see on camera is Jack, and he looks so moody.
Yeah, there's like a really close shot of him and he's just like, what's going on? Yeah. Yeah. Looks like he's taken a wrong turn. Well, out for a stroll. Bless him. So yeah, obviously that was kind of early in the week, right? And then you had your weekend of training and acclimatizing to the heat and camp. So while that was going on, like, because obviously flag was one of the final events, how like aware were you guys of everything else going on around you? Like you say, the orienteering, the tug of war, the drone sport, like it's just chaos, right? But like, were you like in your bubble, or were you kind of like able to, maybe not hang out at the events, but just like be aware of other athletes and stuff?
We did try and go to one of the events, had a logistical slip up, so that didn't happen. But outside of that, not really. I mean, obviously, when you go for dinner and when you're walking around, there were lots of other people there from lots of different sports, in all their countries, kit and everything. So, like, you were aware that there were lots of other things going on, but not so much of the venues. I think Fraser kind of alluded to it as well, is that like everything was miles away from each other.
Yeah, okay.
It's not like things were on site, or it was like tug of war was happening down the road. It was like our bus journey was like 50 minutes to the stadium. So yeah, nothing was that close. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we chatted to like a few people from things like tug of war and disc golf, like kind of very random sports, but really fun to learn about. And then they also, I don't know if you saw this at the Olympics, but they were very into swapping badges, like pin badges. So everybody had them on their accreditation, and then everyone asks you to swap, and you've got to like protect the badges you've got because you don't want to like swap them too soon and get a rubbish one. So Yeah, I was really bad at that. I was just like, have my back. But Grace
Ellie
was a
can't
lot
say
more
that.
reserved and like, no, I don't want that. But it was fun. It's like a fun thing to speak to people from other countries and collect different badges and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So do you get like a handful? Is it like you get like a handful of GB ones and then you like build out from there? Like how does
So
it?
we
Or do you just
actually,
have like what? Like how does it? Because I've seen this at the Olympics and I've been like, like I think Andy Murray was like mad for it because he knew it was going to be his last Olympics or whatever, and he was like, I'm getting one from every country. But like, so does he have like 200 British ones to give away, or like how do you build?
it's a good
Yeah,
question. And we did not think it through very well. So Grace and I actually did a little kind of gift card for the girls in the team, and we had a pin badge in that, one pin badge. And then we were like, this isn't enough. So we did a panic last minute order to get another 2 per player while we were out there. But it was a bit chaotic. I think next time people have got to bring the pin badges. We need to
okay.
be more organized. But have I got mine here? Yeah. These are all the ones I collected. So you've got
Wow.
like the Chinese staff, like the volunteers were so keen to swap that I ended up getting loads of pandas and not much else, but there's some variety there.
Yeah, the panda thing was cool. Like, and I think Jed was pretty into the pins. I did notice that he put up a couple of things on his Instagram being like, if anyone here somehow is in Chengdu and has pin, we will talk.
I think he got a panda flag football one.
He
So he
got
had
the
like
football one.
the most
What?
amazing one. Yeah, we were like, where did you get that?
And I think there were like maybe 10 in the whole village.
Man,
Emily Kemp got one as well. Classic.
textbook. She's got tattoos to trade. Yeah, okay, that's pretty cool though, because like again, not only is that do you have all these memories, that's like those things are so niche, I guess, right? Like it's your collection, and every single one you'll remember like who you traded it with, and there's probably not going to be another World Games in Chengdu anytime soon. So like that's the brand, isn't it? And it's all that's very cool. That's very cool. And I guess one of the other very cool things was you guys technically, I think it was the Sunday, were the first people ever to get a look at the Chinese national side, right? Because that was their scrimmage debut a couple of days before they gave Austria a fright on the opening day of the tournament. So that must have been cool, right? First, I guess we spoke about in advance. It's a first of everything for those guys, and yeah, how did that even come about? Don't know.
Internal contacts somewhere.
Yeah, somebody knows somebody. Yeah. It was.
I think Jack
pretty
is very
cool.
good at making friends with people. So we actually hung out with the Chinese team a couple of times, but very friendly to see them in the village. Like a very fun team to be around, and I just feel like we built really good relationships with them. So I think it was really good for us to get that scrimmage in as well, because at that point we've had a training camp against each other, but it was kind of like, okay, we need to lock in now. We need to play a game and actually be competitive and be in that environment. So it was definitely a good thing to throw in at the end of our camp.
Yeah, so that was kind of going to be the follow-up, right? Like you were also probably the only squad that had a game on Chinese soil before the actual games. So yeah, I guess that's obviously fairly unusual for any major tournament, Grace. So like how useful do you think that was, especially playing in like match conditions? Obviously it's a slightly different climate than it probably is to Coventry.
Yes, that's for sure. I mean, it was invaluable, really. I think it was such a good idea to go out early. We quickly realised how humid it was and how we were going to try and deal with that. And even in some of the games, it did get slightly cooler by a few degrees by the time the game started. But some of them, like I remember just being like, I cannot breathe. I need to go and sit near this aircon. So I think I can't imagine how much more difficult that would have been had we not had the week before. And then obviously, yeah, the friendly doing the scrimmage is always a good thing to do. I don't think we quite realised that we'd end up meeting them again actually in the tournament. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was all of it was a great experience. I think we came on a lot even just in that China camp that we had out there, and then obviously the scrimmage. So yeah.
So once once kind of the weekend was over, obviously you're in that kind of like, right, look both ways crossing the road. Don't eat anything you wouldn't normally eat. Behave yourselves kind of mode before the tournament actually starts. Fraser mentioned that it's like the worst 2 days of his life before the tournament actually starts, like just waiting, just the incessant waiting for the kickoff with Italy. What was that like from like your kind of, I guess, Ellie, from like a player's perspective? How, like, is that the same? Like, were you just kind of like bouncing off the walls?
I think I always get that feeling a little bit if you're, if you know you've got to play the next day and you're kind of just, there is a bit of a waiting game, and I always feel a bit restless. But at the same time, being out there, like there was so much to do in the athletes village, like there was so much to see. They had all these activities. If you did need to occupy your mind, your body, like you could do that. Equally, if you just wanted to like be still and prep for the game, like have meetings, there was space for that. I don't know. I wouldn't say it was the worst days of my life, but I don't want to call Fraser a drama queen, but
You can.
it was, I definitely had that restless feeling like we've been out here, we've done all this prep, and now we just wait to play.
Just want it to get going. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Grace, how do you kind of handle that build up yourself?
Usually, I mean, it can go one or two ways. It depends how I'm feeling in that moment. Thinking back of different tournaments, it just depends really. Sometimes I kind of like to watch film and prep that way. Sometimes I like to do nothing football related. I like to generally be with the team, some version of Monopoly Deal or Uno or something. I'm always game for.
Love that.
But actually in China, I was super ill before kind of while we were there in the China camp. So mine was like, how do I make myself better in this time?
Wow.
So lots of honey,
God.
lots of, all that jazz was going on.
Yeah.
I was having to
Jeez.
eat garlic cloves. It wasn't fun.
Oh.
So mine was just, don't make yourself more sick.
Yeah,
Really.
don't get more ill.
I really forgot about that, Grace. Now I've got these like very clear memories of you just coughing your guts up while we're trying to scrimmage and stuff like that.
Jeez.
Yeah, literally, I had to stop because I couldn't breathe. It wasn't fun.
No.
Jeez.
So long ago, you forgot, Ellie.
No.
Yeah, so much has happened since, and it was only 2 months ago. So yeah, obviously the perfect start with Italy, and then the rest of the day off, which brought up the day 2 and the Japan game, which is, as a, I'm not going to describe myself as a neutral, but as a fan, when the group draw came out, it was like, that's the game, that's it. After the Worlds last year and everything there, I know that you guys had mentioned before you were pretty keen to have a crack and have another go at that. So what was the build up to that game like? What was the game itself like? I guess Grace, and kind of what work do you what do you think you learned from last year that you were able to apply?
Yeah, I mean, we had watched a lot of footage on Japan. We had watched all the World Championship stuff back. There was a clear game plan for both sides of the ball. It actually did us quite a lot of favours playing China in that scrimmage, because they actually played a lot like how we suspected Japan were going to play. So we could iron some of those things out in that scrimmage as well. So that was really good. I actually can't remember prior to the game and how, I can't remember whether it was a morning game. It's really bad. I can't remember. But yeah, there was anticipation going into it for the ones that were in Finland, because I think there was an element of wanting to set the record straight, knowing that we could have had them in Finland and knowing that we could get them again. So I think that was important. But we also had a bunch of players who weren't there and didn't have that same feeling. For them, it was just another big game. So it was quite a nice even balance, actually, of not being too over amped that we're trying to prove a point, and just go into a game and give it the best that we could.
And that's actually a really good point. Obviously, that like a lot of the team were fresh. And I can also confirm for you, Grace, that it was an early game, because it was at 2:00 in the morning. That game. I think that was you might be the first game of the day that day. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever forget shouting at my horizontal phone screen in a hotel room in Aberdeen while you guys were playing. But yeah, I guess Ellie, like a lot of the team were that was their international debut, was obviously the Italy game and the tournament as a whole. Looking back at kind of, we spoke before about when you guys first made your debuts, pretty different atmosphere to probably when you guys first appeared on the scene, kind of in the what we call them, the noughties. So yeah, was there any conversation about prepping them for what was about to happen? How they were able to handle it pretty well over the first couple of, over the tournament, like
I don't know.
it's a big.
It is, and I can't remember how much we talked about this last time. Like, we've done a lot of work this year to make sure we're building the right culture and instilling the right values in the team, and the players really have bought into that. And I think, like Grace said, it really actually helped us a lot that half the team is kind of playing on this big global stage for the first time, because they don't come with all that, I don't want to say trauma, but that kind of like emotional baggage that comes with those big losses, right? They don't have that hangover. For them, it's just another opponent. And that was actually really refreshing. I was sharing room with Abby Snelson out in China. So Jack tended to pair the rookies with the vets. And so you kind of got like an old player, a new player. And Abby was just she had so much energy. She was so like, just not scared about who we were facing. Not that I was, but obviously I knew that we had a score to settle and the last game didn't end the way we wanted it to. Whereas Abby was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's take on this new challenge. And I think that dynamic worked really nicely. Yeah. But I don't think we ever said like, oh, this is going to be a really tough game. I think it was clear that we had a plan and we were going to stick to that plan and we were going to execute.
I mean, yeah, execute you did. And it was a fascinating game, and obviously came right down to the final few minutes. And from there, obviously that's 2 wins on the day, and this was the day that obviously you had your second game later on. So for you guys, what does the middle kind of section of that day look like? Because I'm guessing you finish and then it's like 6 hours or something before the next game. Like, it's more than your normal, your average league day, isn't it? So
Yeah.
like a 6 hour gap, or 7 hour gap almost.
Yeah.
What do you do in the middle, Grace?
That middle bit was not fun, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I can.
People wore pillows and eye masks and tried to sleep. I think the only one that succeeded was Emma and maybe Marta. Everyone else tried to sleep and didn't succeed. We had food at the venue, which was, I've eaten better things, shall we say?
It was food.
Yes.
Allegedly.
Just about, I think.
Okay.
So, it was a lot of waiting around. People were really tired and probably not fueled properly and things like that. There were a lot of elements that weren't in our favour, should we say. But watching film, because obviously by that point everyone's played, so you can watch all the film and the footage. So we were doing that. We obviously have meetings. I actually think, not that day, we didn't, like the things like the speaker and stuff are on. So you're trying what you can to keep the energy levels high. Izzy was forcing honey down everyone's necks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of had these like different routes. So each team had like an athlete's lounge, which was basically, I guess, like an unused classroom. But so we had our like Team GB space that we could hang out in. So I think we've kind of learned in the past how hard it can be to manage your time if you've just had a win and then you've got to play later. How do you celebrate that win but then kind of chill out before bringing yourself back up? Because you can't stay on that high for 6 hours and then go into a game, right? Like, that's not going to work. So yeah, like Grace said, we tried to chill out, tried to like have some downtime, and then get back into planning mode for the next game.
Are you in that moment, or like, are you even aware of what's going on the pitch? Because obviously there's only the one pitch, and you guys go into your lounge, and I know that you're obviously, so later that day you've got Mexico, that Mexico film, that makes sense. Are you, like, does it even come into your brain that, like, I don't know, Canada are playing whoever Canada are playing, I don't know, on that, like, outside, and that's incredibly high level football and it's 200 meters away, but we're doing our thing. Like, does it do you hang out in the stands, or was it just like?
I don't think we did until the last day. We knew that obviously games were being played, and I think at times if you wandered outside, like you can see the pitch and you can kind of watch from there, but we never really got stuck in because I think, like you said, Baz, we wanted to focus on us and not get carried away watching other teams, which was hard. But we obviously also could watch all the streams and stuff, which helped.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, we were chatting the other day about like it's for you guys, like you're there to do you're there to do a job, and for but like for us at home, it's like the ultimate viewing experience. It's like the actual best teams in the world, essentially, like locked in a cage until somebody wins. Like it's it's like the highest ranked teams have ever all been in a group together. But yeah, I was just wondering kind of how all encompassing your bubble kind of really was, because I mean, the way that Fraser talked about it, there was a lot of late nights for the coaching staff and film and meetings. And so I guess, do you guys come off the pitch against Japan? Your nap, your recovery, eating your alleged food, drink some honey. And then, is it like Mexico film from earlier in the tournament? Because that's the most recent that we've got.
Yeah, so we watched a lot of the time. We're watching it separately because we've got phones and stuff while the coaches are prepping what they want to do, and kind of devising what the plan's going to be. And then we'd all kind of come together then for the meeting, and we'd be told what defense we're going to run, the offense, how that's going to look, and what we need to do, what the plan's going to be. So it's a lot of film, but majority from the tournament, because obviously, like I say, it's most recent. Just going back on did we ever really watch games? I've actually since gone back, because even when you watch it as a stream, like you're watching it and then you're like, oh wait, go back a minute. What did they do there? So you're not really watching the game. So I've gone back and watched some of the games from the World Games and been like, oh my God, this was such good football.
It's like I got stuck into a bunch of games that I didn't think I would have. And normally they were the ones immediately after you guys were done. We would be, Andy would be chopping film and we'd be putting graphics out, scores and all that kind of stuff. And it would be 3:30 a.m. and you're watching, like, I don't know, whatever was on next. And you're just like, damn, this is also great. And I'll be honest, we're going to talk about the Mexico game now. I did book out the meeting room in my work and put it on the big screen.
Love that.
I was like, yeah, guys, important meeting. So, and I think I converted a few people, because I was like, right, this is like Britain, and then that's like Grace, and that's like Ellie, and then Jess is at quarterback, and then she's going to do this, and then so this is Mexico, and they're like currently ranked second in the world, and they're really good, and that's this person, and that's this person. I think I converted a couple. I think I also maybe narrowly avoided a stern word, but
sounds like it.
Worth it. So the Mexico game, obviously, until last September, the GB Women's Programme had only ever played European teams. Now, fast forward a year, we're in China playing the second ranked team from America, from the Americas. Yeah, what's that like, knowing that you're kind of, this is, your opponent, like, what's it like getting ready for the challenge? Because you know that this is pretty much as good as it gets, right? Like, by all of their results, and also they were the defending tournament champions, so pretty freaking cool. What was that like in the prep? How do you kind of rationalize that? And then, what was your kind of game experience, I guess, Grace?
They're always a team that I think we've wanted to play at GB level. I think a couple of people have, like Ellie's played with Diana, a couple of people have played against them, but I think as a whole unit, it's always a team we've wanted to play. And I think going into it, we just had that mentality as well. The same in all the other games. It's just like, it's another game. Like, everyone here is of a good standard. Every game's going to be difficult. There was no change in the mentality of that, I don't think, in any of the games. And, well, most of them. But I think during the game as well, I think we had a really good first half, and then it's kind of Mexico ramped it up, as we knew, like we had all said before the game, that they are a second half team. We'd watched so many of their games where first half's really close, second half they've run away with it. And I think from like my perspective, I had that in my head and I was like, right, let's not let that happen. And then lo and behold, Mexico did what we do. But it was good to know, and I think from at that point we're such an inexperienced team as well, like as a whole, with if you look at everyone's experience internationally within the squad and how many games we played together and how many minutes we'd had, I think to know that we held them so close in the first half was a real positive that we all held. And we all knew our mistakes and we knew what would have changed that game. But again, I think like even if we played them now with everything that we've done since, it would be a different game. So lots of positives to take from it.
Yeah. We'll get a crack at them next year, we hope. So obviously that game, I guess the night like that clicks you in, your quarterfinal opponent at that point becomes Austria. Guessing you must have got home or back to base if it was an hour on the bus pretty late, right? So like what, and then I guess were you guys like you were pretty early on in the morning, right? So what was that turnaround like? Obviously, what's that like when not only do you have, like you said, in the during the day, it's kind of easy to have your meetings and fuel and drink your honey and all that kind of stuff. But when you've also got to like get the bus, actually go to bed, what's that like, and what do the coaches do to make that as kind of a smooth process for you guys?
I don't actually remember if we had a meeting that night. I felt the only thing I remember is me and Grace at the laundry doing everybody's jerseys like quite late. I remember that because we were like, right, everyone go to bed, we'll wash the kit. Did we have a meeting that night, Grace? We did. Yeah. So I guess get back, get food, meeting, and then everybody get to bed to get as much rest as they can. But I think everybody, yeah. But generally, I think the coaching staff prioritized like players getting rest, doing what they needed to do, treatments, things like that. But that kind of took priority over anything else, which was good.
Given that you're now the second guests in a row that have brought up the laundry room, I think I'm going to have to ask every member of the World Games squad at least one question about that laundry room. So yeah, obviously quarterfinal Austria. Talk us through that, and then the kind of the aftermath of that heading into the 5 to 8 bracket. Well, yeah, I guess knockout football feels a bit different, right, Ellie?
Yeah, I think it does. It's hard to know what to say with Austria. I do think it in our minds we were like, okay, if we have Austria, we win that, then we have the US, and that was a very exciting prospect for a lot of us. And I don't necessarily think we were complacent against Austria, but I think we saw it as quite simple football compared to the previous game against Mexico, compared to Japan. Like, this is European football. We know how to play European football. I think that was our mentality. And looking like if I was to do that again, I think I would do much more detailed film analysis. I think we had an idea of how they were going to play, the things they were going to do, but I think I would do a lot more. And at that stage in, like our kind of tournament play, I think we weren't a particularly consistent team. I think we've got a lot better at that. So I think we also knew the things that we needed to do to win, but then didn't consistently execute them. So yeah, it was a tough lesson to learn, but also I think an important one for teams. Like, you can't be looking ahead to the next game. You can't be overlooking anyone. And I'm not saying that we overlooked them, but I think we maybe oversimplified what we thought we were facing.
Which sets up like a great story for the Euros, obviously. But before we get there, obviously you meet Italy again, and you meet China again, and then win both those games, which is obviously kind of the way that you want to finish off. When the China game is done, Grace, and I guess it's a long flight home and you've got kind of time to chill, or like once you get home, at that point in time, when you looked back at the week and a half, 10 days in China, kind of what were your like immediate reflections on the tournament?
I think that Austria game will always stick out, really. The Mexico one, like I say, we all took a lot of positives away from that. Obviously, still, no one wants to lose. You don't play a sport to lose. But there were things that we knew were really close and things that we knew we needed to do. And I think on the whole, we played quite well in that game. Whereas I think in the Austria game, there were a lot of mistakes made. There were things like Ellie said, we just didn't execute well. and it just didn't sit well with me after that. So I think that one will always be one that I remember as a frustration. But I think on the whole, you can't take away from the experience. It's the highest level that some of us may ever play flag football at, and just the spectacle that it was just an amazing experience. So nothing could dampen that side of things. And obviously we got to watch the final, which was an amazing final as well. We watched that in the stands and we were all just blown away by that.
Unbelievable final. Unbelievable final, which also set up a great story for their continental games as well. Yeah, so you get home one camp and then out to Paris?
We had a
Must have been
virtual camp, didn't we?
a virtual camp
And then we just had like the camp weekend before we went to Paris.
the week before. So then going, I guess for like yourselves, for Italy, for Austria, you're going in there as essentially like you're the guys, and I'm sure they'll have felt the same. Like when you went to Lati last year, your last like major tournament had been Limerick like 12 months before. What was different this time going in, like off the back of a major tournament against, as you said, Grace, the top teams in the world a month ago?
I think that the turnaround was difficult for people because it was we had 4 weeks, I think. So you're in
six.
that
Pretty much 6 weeks.
apologies. You're in that period of like rest after one tournament, still train.
Try and peak
Don't
again.
rest
Yeah.
too much before the next tournament, but still train, but don't train too much. It was quite a difficult spot to be in. We obviously had the virtual camp, which was a lot of mental work, mental prep. We'd done a lot of film, like really deep film analysis as well, within the team and individually. So yeah, everything still felt quite full on at that point, and then obviously going into it, you then know that everyone's got all this film on you, which the other teams wouldn't have had. So we knew that then everyone can prepare on us, because then the team announcement comes out, everyone sees it's the same team, so they think, right, well, we've got all that film, so then you've got that to contend with. But yeah, I just think from a personal perspective, you had to try and balance that. Slow down, get ready, slow down, get ready again.
Yeah. So I guess like Ellie, I'm not the film buff, right? Like if people have scheme questions on any team I'm play for, it's like you go talk to somebody else. Like you just tell me which I chase the quarterback. That's that, and then I go home. That's it. Like, did you guys like I don't want specifics, obviously, but like did stuff change because you were aware of that people had a tournament's worth of film?
Some things changed, but more to like meet our own objectives rather than change things for other teams, right? I think we saw things that we wanted to change about the way we were playing on both sides of the ball, and we worked on those things. Like actually, I think for a lot of the team, yeah, we had to balance rest, but actually we were probably working the hardest we've worked all year within that 6-week period. You know, if we were local, we were meeting up twice a week to get field sessions in. We had weekly film calls. We had calls with each other. We were in the gym. Like it was actually quite an intense period of correcting all of those things that we'd seen go wrong. So like, you know, we were out on the field with Jess throwing shoot after shoot, corner after corner to make sure they were perfect. They were getting to where they needed to be. Things like that. On the defense, we were like, okay, this wasn't right. We need to improve our man coverage, and we were doing one-on-ones together. So I think it was more, yeah, how can we better ourselves rather than how can we change what we're doing to hide things from opponents.
Nice. And then, yeah, obviously Paris comes around. You've got your group with mostly familiar teams, particularly our dear friends from Czechia, who I think we see every single tournament. And then, yeah, Finland, Ukraine, and obviously I think Turkey were making their international debut. So the second team making an international debut that you got to see in the space of 2 tournaments. So what did obviously, like, partly they've spoken about the China game, but also the Turkey game as they make their debut. Like, what is there anything you're seeing from, you know, like obviously it's amazing that flag football and of course the women's game is expanding with all of these new teams. Is there anything you're seeing? I don't know the question I'm trying to ask, but basically, what's it like playing a team that no one's ever seen before?
Yeah, obviously it's difficult because you don't have all that film, all that prep. You haven't played them a bunch of times. A lot of even the international teams, you know the players, you've seen them at club level, you've played them in various tournaments, you know how they play. Whereas obviously with Turkey, we didn't get that. They had played at Copenhagen Bowl.
Copenhagen Bowl, right? Yeah.
So we had that. But I actually think the team had changed a fair bit as well since then. So yeah, I mean, it's difficult. You don't know what to expect. You have to go out there and just play your best football because you don't know what you can't particularly plan what you're going to come up against. So that's definitely different. And sometimes that's a good thing because you don't over prep, you don't overthink, you just play.
And I think it's fun, right, to play teams that show you something different, give you a different look. I think that was maybe one of my favorite games just because it was like they kept doing all this like motioning behind the line, moving people around, trying to like catch the defense out. And obviously for us, we're like, okay, let's just stay disciplined. Let's just do our jobs. And that's actually something that we were conscious we needed to work on from China, was like doing your job, focusing on you, getting your role right. So actually that was kind of fun. And then you start to think, actually, can I catch them out by giving them this look, but actually doing something slightly different? So it just adds like something new to think about, which is always fun.
It's like the total, yeah. I know everyone was always like, oh, it's like a chess match. But like when you start seeing it like operating at that level of them moving, trying to catch you, and you'd be like, all right, okay, try this then. That's it's pretty cool. So yeah, I guess on the subject of teams making their international debut, Slovenia, kind of surprise of the tournament, I guess, to everyone except Jack, apparently. You meet them in the quarterfinals. I guess you had, I know you had the coaching staff kind of keeping an eye on any other teams throughout the tournament that you could potentially meet. But yeah, I guess that challenge of never seeing them before coming in a knockout game. Grace, what were your reflections on that quarterfinal? Because I guess in knockout football, as Ellie said before, it kind of feels different, but also you're the defending champions, and there's a target at you guys that if you want to earn the crown, then you gotta win it. So what's that like being, the defending champs at that level, and also having a team that you've never played before?
Yeah, I mean, it's a chance here to echo what Fraser said in terms of the staff and what they did, because they put in a lot of work and sometimes can be seen as kind of the thankless work, standing on the sidelines with their clipboards, and you don't see that all the time. But they did a great job of doing a lot of research. So then when we sat down and we had our meeting, it was very much like, here's the plan, we know what we're going to do, XYZ from what we've seen. So that was really beneficial. A couple of us had actually been to Champs Bowl the year before, last year. Everything merges into one. Whenever it was. Domizile Tigers, if I'm saying that properly. Ellie, correct me if not. And so we knew that a large proportion of that team were in the team. We knew the quarterback, we'd seen her, we knew how she could play, we knew she could throw deep. So there were things we did know. But I think, the nerves definitely start to kick in when you hit that quarters point, because it's the place of no return. So you don't want to mess up. And I think I was definitely nervous at the start. I didn't play very well for the first few drives. So it's figuring all that out, and you don't have a lot of time to do it. At the end of the day, it's 20-minute halves. So we did start slightly slow in that game, and then we picked it up and managed to have a good time by the end of it.
Yeah, I guess, was it a second half? I think it was a second half shutout in that game. Like that's got to feel pretty good, I guess, Ellie.
Yeah, I think once you get into a rhythm, and I think, is that the game where we scored before the half and then we had the ball the second half? Like you've got a lot of momentum then, and we were just capitalizing on that. I think it's always, I've been on the other end of that as well, when you're the team that's like, oh no, this is not going our way, and it feels awful, and you can kind of see that in your opponent like crumbling. But from our perspective, you're like, we got this. That's a really nice feeling. But you're also like, hey, we've got to finish this game, right? So that was a game we were all really pumped after, but it was, again, right, we've got to finish this job, we've got to move on to the next one. So you can't stay in that kind of glory for too long.
And that was a Friday night, right?
Yeah, yes. That was our late game. Yeah.
Yes, that was a Friday night under the lights. Yeah, great Friday night for GB, I guess. Did you guys? You were before the boys' game, right? So were you there? No, you were on the bus back, right? So were you watching on your phone like everybody else?
We were watching. Yeah, we were watching our phones.
It was really hard.
And everything.
I know. It's one of those where you want to be out there supporting each other, but you also got to focus on the job that you've got to do.
What you have to do. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I think we saw a little bit while we were leaving, but we were then on the bus with our phones, and it was great.
Yeah, I can imagine the noise that came out of the bus at the end of the game there was pretty ace. Um, so so yeah, Friday Night Lights, good win, quarterfinal, semi-final is our gracious hosts in the morning. So I guess that's a new experience as well, meeting the host of a tournament in a semi-final with a home crowd, I guess, because like that's a thing now in flag football. There's crowds and car horns and air horns and all that kind of thing. And again, another great match. And what was that experience like? Because obviously it's a late Friday night and it was a bloody early start Saturday morning. Yeah, how is that kind of dealt with? And I guess Ellie, what do you recall kind of most vividly from that game?
Yeah, so I think we knew well ahead of time we had this like late game on the Friday, early start on the Saturday. So we were always like, right, we have to be on it with this. We've got to be like food, bus, bed. And then I think we were up again maybe like 5:20, I want to say. The alarms went off.
So early.
It was so early, yeah. And also this is like like day 3 of football. So your body's feeling it as
Yeah.
well. So yeah, we got there and it was still dark and there was like no one else there. It was like us at the fields. Also, I don't know
It
if
was
this
like
came up before. Yeah, it was like quite eerie atmosphere. I can't remember if Fraser talked about the toilets at the fields as well. Maybe not.
He just kind of shook his head and was just like, we're not
Okay.
doing that.
It was
So,
questionable.
yeah.
I bet it was like dark. You were like peeing in a hole in the ground. Like
God.
there's like no one else around. And then,
we're questioning life.
but we have like a very
The
specific
highest level of sport right here.
right? Make it make sense. We've come from like China where everything is amazing, like you're so
Yeah.
well looked after, and then you're like, where are we? But I think we have a very clear like pre-game warm up, the things we need to do. We know when we need to be on the field, so we weren't gonna deviate from that plan. So yeah, it was still kind of dark. The lights were on in the morning. We were warming up. And we kind of thought, oh, it's quiet. Like maybe the home crowd won't turn up for this game. Like it's quite early. Maybe that won't be such a thing. But it was a thing. It was so loud. And like,
So
especially
loud.
the second half of the game, all you could hear were these horns. And I think that can be quite rattling, especially if you've not been in that situation before. But I actually think the players handled it really well, did what they needed to do to stay locked in the game. And I think that's probably how I describe a lot of these games over the course of that week, is like everybody was very composed. There wasn't much, like, you didn't really see people panicked, even if we were down. Like there was a lot of composure, a lot of, I suppose, like trust that we had a plan and we were going to execute against that plan.
And I guess, do you think, given a third of the squad that was their kind of Continental's debut, do you think China plays a role in that? I've dealt with that. Like, this is not worse than playing in 30-degree heat and 90% humidity on, all that kind of stuff going on. Like, do you think that plays a big role in just like staying composed? Because I guess, yeah, if air horns at 7 a.m. are your, welcome to international football debut, that's a very different kind of experience to if you've been through a tournament already.
I think it does definitely play a role. Like, I think there was a lot of kind of resilience in getting through some of those tough situations, like we saw out in China, and then obviously a different climate, different situation this time, but people, like I said, did what they needed to do to kind of muddle through that the way that they felt comfortable doing it. But I also think, going back to what Grace said about all the work the extended coaching staff did to come up with our plans, like there was a lot of trust that the coaches had made a plan that was going to work for us. I think there was never any doubt that we knew how to win these games. It was just a case of executing.
Go and do it. That's cool. And that's a big thing for a group, right? Like that is high performance sport in a nutshell. Of it's the collective on both sides. Yeah, Fraser really spoke about that extended group, and then obviously you get Austria. I guess that's where we probably all knew the road was going to go. Yeah, the top 2 ranked teams on the continent meeting in the final, pretty much perfect. And yeah, I think at the start we didn't really know what we were going to how it was going to play out. Yeah, what a roller coaster. Just, I guess, Grace, talk me through it. If you can recall, and it's family friendly, what was going through your kind of like what your reflections of that, uh, kind of the regular time of that, you know, of that was. We'll deal with overtime separately, but just kind of like the
It's its own story.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously from the French game, it was another classic of that was also a very close game.
It
Like
was. Yeah.
it's not like we walked away with that. It was a very close game. They played very well. So we had the high of that of like we've made the final to like Ellie said previously of like don't stay too high. You need to come back down. We had a long break. Food. We were watching some of the boys' games. You had a bit of time. And obviously at that point we knew who we were playing. So again, it's like another team. That's how we need to see it. And then did all our prep, did all that. We had our meetings, we had everything we need to do, and then obviously get ready for the final. We were going out through the tunnel, so we were going obviously how you've seen all the pictures now. And in the tunnel, Austria were playing music. And they had done at the World Games as well. Like they were very lively, very loud, very. So we kind of again expected it, knew it was going to happen. We were all quite calm. I think we just kind of let them do their thing. We did our thing. Run out and go through all of that, and obviously then the game starts. A bit of a blur actually. And I remember looking over to the sideline at one point and being like, "Oh my god, it's 21-6. I didn't realise that that was the score. How are we going to do this? But however we're going to do it sort of situation." And Austria had actually won the toss. So me and Ellie weren't very good at the tosses. We lost quite a lot of them. However, they won their coin toss, but elected for offense. So we obviously scored then just before the half, and then we had the ball back and scored again. So that deficit closed quite quickly, and we found ourselves in quite a good spot at that point. And yeah, I mean, it was a very close game. They made mistakes, we made mistakes, and I think we capitalized on them. I think a little bit more than what they managed to do, maybe. But yeah, I mean, it was you two very closely matched teams, and it was a good game for the spectator. I hear.
Yeah, I mean, it was a terrible game for blood pressure, and heart rate. But yeah, when I kind of went back through and watched it back, it was I'd still maintain one of the best flag football games I've ever watched. And I guess Ellie, on your side, like you know, everyone loves everyone loves a comeback story, even if you don't necessarily want to be the team that has to come back. What was that? What was that like from kind of from your perspective? Because it would have been very easy to be like, "Oh, Austria, they're at it again." Like this is similar situation, but actually, then shut the door, and from then, from then on, and got back into it.
Yeah, again, it was quite a strange feeling. I was on the sideline for the final and looking around, like I didn't get the feeling that anybody in the team was like, God, we've lost this game. Like at any point was I like, I did not think anybody was feeling like we're out of this. And I think that kind of like belief, like kind of like drove each other on the field. So I was kind of making sure that, okay, is there anybody who doesn't believe that we can do this? Because if you don't think you can do it, you're not going to do it, right? So I was just trying to make sure that if I saw anybody who even had the slightest shadow of doubt, that I was trying to get them hyped, trying to make sure that they were confident going out there, that they knew that they could execute their role and that kind of thing. And one of the players that I think has shown like the most growth in the time that we've been working with her is obviously Jess. Like never would have believed she can play the way that she can a year ago when I saw her playing with Leicester Huntsman. I mean, she was amazing then, but if you know, the growth that she's shown this year is phenomenal. And she's quite a hard one to read sometimes. Like she's very serious when she's playing until you score, and then she's all like fun, smiles. But she's very serious a lot of the time. You're in the huddle and she's got this very serious expression. So on the sideline, she was like looking like this. And so I was talking to her and trying to gauge how she was feeling. And I think, I gave her a bit of a pick me up, but I still got the feeling that she knew we were capable of it. And I think that's a really powerful thing to see in a team.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so obviously it's overtime. You guys know the format from earlier. Yeah. So I guess was that a coin toss or was that like predetermined? And I guess because of what you said before, Grace, like, did you win that coin toss?
That was a coin toss.
We didn't win. And then we got mixed up, right? Because we thought they said defense, but they actually said offense. And then so we're like, yeah, we're on defense. And then it turned out we weren't.
Determined that they said defense.
It was confusing.
Okay.
I'm sure they were just trying to mess with us.
Okay. But okay, so yeah, because I remember that, like both units kind of walked on and walked off again, right? So I mean, I guess, yeah, Grace, overtime, obviously four down, some halfway pressure on the offense to an extent to score, because then it's in the hands of the defense. Like walking from the sideline to the halfway line in a European final of overtime, pretty surreal experience, I guess. Flag football in a stadium and all that. Like what was that whole experience? What was that drive like?
I don't like personally, I was just in the mindset of we have to score. Whatever happens here, we have to score because, like you say, you have to keep the pressure on. But again, like Ellie said, like I never had the thought that we weren't going to score. And I think that's such a powerful mindset. And everyone had that. So the first two downs didn't really go to plan. But even at that point, like there was never a feeling of like, oh my God, what if we don't score here? Like that didn't even enter. It didn't enter my head, and I don't think it entered anyone else's. And then obviously a big third down play, which I'm actually sure was in, but who knows? We won't comment. And obviously third day Marta showing up big, and then obviously touchdown Emily. Who else? If there is any person you want the ball in the hands of, it is her. So yeah, scored, and then we obviously got the extra point, which we did. We used that play, and we hadn't really throughout the rest of the tournament. So it was a moment to do it.
Wow, yeah. I guess no one's seen it, right?
So yeah, got the extra point, and then it was just like, right, first job done, on to the next one, sort of thing. And then yeah, obviously they had their drive. They scored and obviously decided to go for two.
So there's a few things, I guess. One on we never, like everyone always believed we would score. That belief, as far as I'm aware, permeated the screen. Because before the third down snap, maybe I would have changed my mind if it had been fourth from the half, right? But at the moment the ball was snapped on third down, I was still at home being like, this is fine. Like it was crazy just watching you guys go about your business. I guess, Ellie, what was that like? Because I know obviously like a lot of athletes, like they like the control, they like to be able to influence events. Obviously, as you said, you were kind of on the sideline as captain and the extra coach. Like what's it like to watch that and know that you have you're not influencing it the way that I know you would like to?
It's horrible. Like you don't feel that same like sense of jeopardy when you're playing, right? Because you're like, I can do something here. But on the sideline watching, you're like, my heart rate was through the roof. And I was just like, we've got to do this. Like, there's no other option. But yeah, it was not nice. But I think it's nice. I think you can see in those moments that the girls on the sideline are all there together. You can still see like our shared belief coming through. And we're all kind of like rooting that somebody's going to make a play, something's going to happen. And I think we've got that trust that somebody on that field is going to go up and get it. So yeah, I do not wish the sideline life for anybody, but it's also obviously a massive privilege to see such high level football. Like I love that too. And the other one, just to shout out there is Brittany, of course, who was also along as a coach this time round, also dealt with the sideline life this time. And it is really hard, and especially for her because her brain is going at 100 miles an hour too. So she's always wanting to be like, oh, do this. And there's another level because the way that Jess plays is very different to the way that she would play things, right? So she's also having to put herself in Jess's shoes and think, okay, what decision is right for this team right now? So kudos to her because she was a brilliant coach.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because, it was totally different for her. And you mentioned before, like the incredible development that Jess has gone through, and you know, can only, and I will ask her at some point, I'm sure like what the incredible benefit that must have been to have someone on the sideline who has like essentially one of the few people on the planet that has like literally stood where you're standing is quite in a game that also came down to the very last play. Yeah, I was when I finally got the list of staff and Brit's name was on it. I was very happy. Made me very
Yeah.
gave me the warm and fuzzies. So when, I guess, Grace, you're on the field, they score their touchdown, and then I'm guessing either the referee tells you or you see their coach put the two up, like psyched, because you're just like, right, okay, it's this now. I don't have to go on offense again, whatever happens, or like, or how did you like, you must process that, I guess, that's on some level.
I don't think I ever entered the thought process of I don't need to go on offense again. That was not on my. We actually didn't realize until we didn't realize immediately that it had gone for two. There was a delay, especially on the field. The coaches had already seen, but the players on the field were so locked in it, looking at Marky, what we're going to do. Like, this is the last play. Like, we have to stop it. Oh, wait a second. Why are they from 10?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah. And then in that moment, I mean, Fraser said it as well, but the whole tournament, the way me and Marta had worked, the middle zone was a certain way. And then for that final, I will never get over the way it happened, but the rest of the time we'd look at each other and I'd say me, and we both knew what that meant. And in that moment, we both looked at each other and I said you and she said me, as in herself, and I said
yeah.
So in that one moment, we changed what we'd done the entire tournament, and it's like it was fake because it worked so well.
I think that's the amazing thing. And obviously it's been talked about kind of at length, is you knew, right? Because you leave the ground
Yeah.
almost immediately after Marta does, and I don't think the ball had crossed the 5.
Yeah. For sure. The second I saw that ball go to the back corner, I knew Marta was going to be there, and no one is going to come down with that other than her. I've played against her enough times in that scenario to know that she's going to get that ball. So yeah, I honestly knew in that moment, as you can tell in the video.
Unbelievable. And then obviously, I guess Ellie on the sideline, cue bedlam.
Yeah, I think there was a split second where we were like, it's happened. And then everyone's running on the field. I can't even explain the emotions at that point in time. It's all over the place. But yeah, I honestly can't describe it. I guess ecstasy, maybe, that, you've been working towards something for such a long time. And in that tiny moment and that tiny split second of gut instinct or whatever that was you just described, Grace, that's where a championship's won, and it all comes down to that. It's crazy when you think about it. But yeah, there was a lot of them.
Yeah, and then obviously, I guess, I mean the pictures from Rory and Andy and Blessing and the rest of the gang that are out there will kind of preserve that for everyone that was both there and was viewing online. And I guess kind of I started off with a question of when did it feel real that you landed in China, that you were playing on the World Games in China? When did it feel real that it was we did it? Does it feel real yet, I guess, Grace?
I don't know. I honestly really don't know. I think from the moment that ball left Saskia's arm, I don't think I've actually settled yet. It still doesn't, it's not quite registered. I think, yeah, I mean, obviously you have a gold medal around your neck and that settles it in a little bit. I actually still haven't watched that game back. So I think I need to do that. Maybe that will help the situation. But yeah, it's surreal. But at the same time, I think it's the curse of an athlete, is that it's well, what's next? We've done it, what's next? And for me, I had a moment after that because I did the sideline thing, obviously, in Limerick in 2023, and it kind of finished that chapter for me, winning this year. And now I'm like, right, okay, Worlds next year. Let's go again. What's next? When's the next tournament? Back in the gym, back at the field. It's just, you have those milliseconds and then it's next book.
It's back again. Yeah, I guess back to where we started, Ellie. I guess the same question for you. How do you kind of alluded to it earlier, but has it sunk in? You guys are
I think,
two-time European champions.
do you remember that photo that went around from IFAF Media of like me on Grace's back?
Yes, vividly.
The worst.
Grace hates it, but that one where it says like back to back Queens of Europe, I'm like, I cannot believe we've done this thing twice. Because that's not fluke, right? That's not chance. We've achieved this in very different ways 2 times. We're doing something right, and that's been different coaching staff, that's been different teams, like different things going on in terms of logistics and federation and all of that stuff. Like there's something in this program that is going in the right direction, and that's clear. So I think it's a really exciting time. At the same time, like the following weekend we were back into the Women's League. WFFL started, so you're there, we're facing each other on the field, it's freezing, you're in some random like middle of nowhere pitches. Everyone picked up like the flu, so everyone's ill, your body's still hurting. So that was a real shock back to reality.
Yeah, back to earth with a bump. I guess seeing all of your teammates again, but in different jerseys. Yeah, and that's something that I guess we've all got to look forward to, and I have absolutely zero doubt that we'll catch up again in March at least. But yeah, and then I guess for like you were saying, Grace, on the international level, next. I don't know anything about the program and how it's all building for next year. But yeah, I guess like you say, like this, we can have our happy bit for now, and then you guys will be back to work in no time.
Yeah, I think what we've seen from this season is like if you're not working, if you're not putting in the time mentally and physically, like you're not going to make this team. I think it's really clear that we want to be elite athletes. We are seeing ourselves as elite athletes, and that the program isn't going to settle for less. So I think that's really motivating for people, but it's also like it's right. You sacrifice a lot of things, and a lot of things have to take a backseat in your life. I think a lot of us were like, wow, this really paid off. We had this great performance, but we know that we've got an even higher ceiling. So exciting times, more work to do.
I'll finish on one question. I asked it of Fraser and it made him think. So I guess if you look back on the year of the program, kind of from till yesterday, kind of until kind of early in the year when through camps and stuff and selection, what moment do you look back on and you're like, I'm proud of that. Like I'm proud of the team for what they did there because it led to everything else. Do you think? Is there one?
Pick one. I think there was definitely a moment so we went out to Boston and we did a tournament out there, and obviously as part of our like training camp as well. And I don't know who it was in the coaching staff, but they'd arranged like a campfire session where we kind of had s'mores and spoke about our feelings. And I think that brought the team together a lot more. We had a lot of people that spoke really personally that maybe wouldn't normally, and it brought everyone together. And I think that then really kind of continued to grow them throughout the rest of the season. So obviously we spent like 2 weeks together in China. Then you come home, you're apart then for how long, and then you're back together for camp, and then we spent however long. Obviously, like Ellie said, a lot of people were meeting in and out around that, doing training. Like there was just so many minutes spent together, and I think it all started in that Boston camp. And I think if there's one thing that you could see was that unity between everyone, and I think that really did as well on the field.
I think it was Meg who arranged that. We talked about like what values do we appreciate in each other, and that was really nice. Like I think so I've played with Kate for 10 plus years, but I've learned so much more about her in the last year than I've ever learned before, which I think says a lot about the approach we've taken, the culture, the players buying into it, and all of that stuff. What was that again? The moment we're most proud of?
The moment that you're most proud of, or the moment that you think really stands out from the last kind of year of the program?
Gosh, I've got two. I've got like a team wise, I'm most proud of, I think, the way that everybody locked in after China. Like everybody was so motivated. Like Hannah was injured and showing up to a torrential like rain session. She was standing there in her coat, just like it was pouring down, and she wasn't even playing, just to watch us train. Like the commitment is crazy, but everybody was so hungry to prove that we can do it and we can give a lot more than what we just shown out in China, that I think they just worked so hard, and I think that momentum will keep building next season. So that's, I think, something I'm proud of in terms of the team. Personally, I was very injured at the start of the year, and I had a real breakthrough. First time I played and didn't feel pain, I think, was like June. So for me, I was like really proud of that journey and like getting through that kind of work to get back to the field and not feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. So a lot of personal growth, a lot of team growth. It's only up from here.
And to jump on the back of that, as someone who saw how hard she worked, that was inspiring as well. So you've got no excuse to not go out when you know someone's putting that much work in.
That's that's great. And like I have said on and off for years, that I'm so happy for you guys, and I'm so like proud of both like how hard you've worked and like grateful for you guys have given us as the community like an awful lot of very, 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 very good feelings and a lot of memories, that even if it is holding my phone sideways at 3:00 in the morning because you guys are in China, or shouting across the dining room table or whatever because we've managed to get you on YouTube or whatever, like it's you have inspired a nation of people to buy into the program based off of what you do, and I want you to know that like we care a lot and we're very like behind you all the way, and it's going to be Dusseldorf next year and it's going to be sick and we're going to do it all again. And I've been saying for 2 years I'm never going to get bored of saying European champions, and now for at least another 2 years I get to say back-to-back European champions when I describe you guys. So guys, thank you so much for coming back on and having a conversation. You're always welcome, and like I say, we'll definitely catch up properly later in the WFFL season. I have absolutely no doubt of that. But
Well, also, Bez, a massive thank you to you and the gang, because the way that you amplify everything that the team does, make sure that, our journey is out there, is amazing. And we're massively appreciative of it all. So thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. So that's been our chat with Ellie Thorpe and Grace Conway, our back-to-back European champions. Thank you very much for spending your time with us. That is the way we HN see it.